Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for signing in here this morning. Just get going here in a moment while some folks log in. Looks like we got some responses in the chat. If everybody could just, again, like Penny mentioned, take a minute to type in the chat where you're tuning in from today. I'd appreciate that. I'm tuning in from my home office here and just outside of Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Again, like Penny mentioned, we're going to be recording. So if you could just keep your videos off and your audio muted, that'll help for the quality of the recording. I've got just about 10 slides to go through. I'm going to hope to run through this in about 30 minutes or less and have a little bit of time for questions and comments at the end. I'd really appreciate feedback on this. This is a new initiative coming out of Extension, so really looking to get some feedback here today. Looks like Penny has launched the poll. So if folks could just go ahead and answer the poll and let us know where you're employed, that'll help me as we're going through some of this to kind of tailor some of what I'm saying to make sense to folks who are on the call. But yeah, again, with any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to raise them in the chat and we'll have some time at the end to go through this. So I'm gonna answer the poll too quick. And with that said, we're a little bit past the top of the hour, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into it. So again, welcome everybody to what we're calling the Farm Forest Initiative presentation, engaging farmers in woodlot management. I'm Tony Johnson with the UW-Madison Division of Extension. I'm a natural resources educator. I'll be explaining a little bit more what that means in the context of extension forestry during this presentation, but that's my email at the bottom, and feel free to reach out to me at any time with forestry related questions, but I'll include a bunch more of our contact information throughout the presentation. So to get started, I think it's important to just begin with the why we're here today and kind of what the point is of this presentation. And again, thank you all for taking your time to come and join me here today. I know your time is really valuable, so I'll try to be as succinct as possible with this. So we've got the poll already out there. Really curious about the audience that is tuned in today. We've got the information on the registration, but I think just a little real-time feedback will help. But again, this presentation is really targeted towards what I call conservation professionals or folks who work for agencies or organizations that help to serve landowners. And specifically in this context, I'm hoping to be talking to folks who are working with farmers who potentially own woodlands. So a little bit of my background, I am relatively new to Extension. I started a year ago yesterday. So I just got my 1 year in with Extension, and prior to working with the Division of Extension, I was working with NRCS in Dodge County as a soil conservationist. So doing farm bill conservation planning and working with farmers on implementing the programs that the NRCS works with. I think kind of the important context about the Farm Forest Initiative is that farmers around the state have woodlands. The majority of farmers have at least some woods, whether it's a wood lot on the back 40 or fence lines that serve as windbreaks or riparian buffers. What I'm describing as farm woodlands or the farm forests can look a bunch of different ways, but I think that it's a really important resource within the state of Wisconsin, and woods provide farmers with both social, economic, and conservation opportunities that I think if we can showcase the value of farm woods, we're going to be able to help engage farmers in sustainable management of their woodlands. And got the Wisconsin idea up there. So as an extension educator, this is really foundational to what we do. This is a picture of Charles Van Heise, early president of the University of Wisconsin. And basically he was the one who initiated the idea of extension within Wisconsin. And it's important to me to bring the resources of the university to every family in the state is the way that I like to describe it. So really trying to extend beyond the borders of the campuses and utilize the resources and people that we have to help meet the needs of people on the ground. And I know that, you know, I looked at the registration as far as who's on the call, and, you know, NRCS staff, county conservation staff. I know you folks are extremely busy and you've got your own mandates as far as what you need to accomplish within your positions. And I want to just provide a connection to the university as a resource to help you fulfill your position descriptions and get the work done that you need to get done. So with that, the learning objectives that I put together for the talk today are these 4 points. One is to just help folks understand more about the extension forestry program within the Division of Extension. It's not really like some of the other forestry programs in neighboring states, if you're familiar with work that the University of Minnesota does or the University of Illinois. So we've got a little bit different setup within the state that I want to explain, and then talk about the farm forest initiative and kind of what that looks like today. I did a statewide needs assessment in 2020. So I want to share the findings to kind of just get you guys up to date on where I'm at as far as thinking about this initiative, and then talk about some opportunities to get involved. Again, this is an initiative. It's not a program. This is something that is still crystallizing in what it's going to look like. And I'm looking for partners and input to help make this something that's going to be really valuable to the farmers of the state, as well as the conservation professionals who serve them. And then I'm going to close out the talk with just showing some of the important resources that are already available within the state, so that you can help point interested landowners to those resources or use them yourselves. Okay, a little bit of background on the extension forestry program. So the program is housed within the broader natural resource education program, and we call ourselves NREs, or natural resource educators. We're split into 2 different categories. We've got water educators and forestry educators. And I would imagine that some of you on the call are more familiar with the work that the water educators do, because they are helping to facilitate water quality projects and work with groups like the demo farm networks and producer-led watershed networks around the state. So it's probably more overlaps with some of the work that you guys have done in the past, but the forestry educators were really focused on targeting unengaged woodland owners. So when we say that, it's basically people who own woods who have not connected with foresters or resource professionals. They don't have management plans, and we're really trying to provide connections to these unengaged audiences with the resources that are available within the state. So we are regional educators. I'm one of 3 that operate throughout Wisconsin. I'm number 4 there. Like I mentioned, I am outside of Fond du Lac. My office is at the University of Wisconsin Fond du Lac campus. And but I basically cover the southern part of the state. So I describe my range as Door County to La Crosse and everything below. And then the other 2 regional educators within the program are Lauren Larson. She's relatively new as well, started just before me. She covers the northwestern part of the state, and her office is in Eau Claire. And then Bill Clace has been a natural resource educator and a forestry educator for a couple of decades now, and he operates out of Rhinelander and covers basically the northeastern part of the state. So depending on where folks are calling in from, I would encourage you to get in touch with the regional educator in your area if you've got any questions. But we've also got a program email, the forestry@extension.wis.edu, if you can't remember any of our names in particular. So we all can respond to that email. But in the context of today's talk, I am the lead for the Farm Forest Initiative. And if you've got questions specifically related to farmers who own woodlands, I would just ask you to bring those to my attention. So next, I just want to talk a little bit about the programming that Extension Forestry currently offers. So we've got a bunch of different classes and resources that we currently provide. one of which is our website. The URL is woodlandinfo.org. I'll be sharing that a couple more times. That's kind of our repository for fact sheets, seasonal information, classes that we, like I noted there, we frequently update that website. We're actually going through kind of extensive process to update all of our content there so it's more usable by our audience, which once again is these folks who are not engaged in woodland management. So not necessarily targeting Wisconsin Woodland Owners Association members or MFL participants or folks who are already working with natural resource professionals and they have plans. So we're really trying to create introductory materials that help people kind of assess the values, bring their goals to mind with their property. So I would just point you to that website and encourage you to bookmark that, because we are doing a lot of updates that I think will make that a more valuable resource moving forward. Learn About Your Land is a series of classes that our program has been running for over a decade, and it's kind of our flagship program. A lot of our work is in partnership with the DNR and the Division of Forestry. We work extensively with service foresters around the state to help them with their education and outreach objectives. So we offer in-person classes every year in specific counties where we do targeted mailings to woodland owners, and we work with My Wisconsin Woods to update their landowner database. And this year we've got classes that are going to be occurring in these counties, and we're planning for a mix of in-person and virtual programming. And I would just make a note here, as I'm seeing in the chat, that Penny's going to be adding some of the links and resources as we go. So I also shared the resource document sheet where you can come back and find links to everything that I'm talking about today. So feel free to just kind of follow along, and you'll have all this information at the end. But in regards to Learn About Your Land, if you are operating in one of these counties, we would like to partner with you as far as getting the word out to landowners in your county. And really excited. I'm going to be focusing on the Kenosha and Washington County classes, as well as doing some work with Monroe and Adams County too. Another offering we have is the Your Land, Your Legacy class series, which is about succession planning. So this is our series that is kind of part of a larger effort with different extension programs around the Eastern US to provide succession information for woodland owners. So this is a class series that's really targeted at bringing families together to talk about their goals with their property as far as planning for the future. And we are currently updating that to be an online class series that's going to be kicking off in May. I would just point you back to our website for updates on when that class is going to be officially offered, but that is something that's going to be available to people across the state who are interested in learning more about succession planning, and some of the, there'll be some exercises to help people better understand how their values fit into succession plans and their opportunities with that. And then my colleague Lauren Larson is also doing a specific effort to reach women woodland owners. So she's been doing a lot of great work online, and has been offering a series of classes just in the last 3 months, targeting women who own woodlands within Wisconsin. She's got a bunch more good projects in the works, and specifically she is offering some invasive species workshops and hikes in Dunn County this May. So if this is an area that you're interested in, I would really encourage you to reach out to her and tune in for more information on this to come, because it is a new program within the state, but I think there's a lot of good work planned. And I'm also involved in a grant project, USDA funded project called the New Landowner Outreach or Land Success Project, with some other extension folks, as well as faculty members within the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where we are using the real estate transfer records to identify new landowners within the state and try to tailor outreach specifically to folks who are new to land ownership. So this is a relatively new effort as well. We're in the process of interviewing new landowners and kind of better understanding their needs, but we're planning on putting together some outreach opportunities, materials, as well as classes to serve this group of new landowners within the state. So I'm really excited to be part of that and interested to see where that goes. And then the last program to talk about is the Farm Forest Initiative. And again, this is fairly open-ended at this time. I wanted this presentation to serve as an opportunity to introduce what we do and how we can potentially inform this work moving forward. But I think there is a great need within the state to do forestry outreach specifically tailored to the agricultural audience. So just to take one step back, I talked a couple slides ago about how our efforts are primarily to work with unengaged landowners, so folks who have not previously met with resource professionals or put together a management plan for their property. And I wanted to share this infographic from the DNR, what they call the Landowner Engagement Continuum. And this is specifically in the context of forestry, but I think it also applies if you change some of the words to some of the agricultural work that we do. So the idea here is that at the top of the chart, we've got the acquisition stage and the cultivation stage. So that's outreach and education. And that is really the role that the extension is trying to serve, to get the information out to landowners, help them understand what's available to them and raise their hand if they're interested, and then to help provide relationships and build connections between the resources that are operating in this area and the landowners who need them. And our goal is really to help people implement their practices, but we're not necessarily the folks who are going to be working one-on-one with landowners to get practices in hand. And in the context of this diagram, we're specifically talking about connecting people with service foresters who can help landowners make plans and implement practices, or get them to the district conservationists in their county, or other folks who are actually running programs to assist landowners. And I think that just in the kind of big picture of what we're trying to do as a extension program, that we really want to help coordinate resources and build those connections between the folks who are doing the really good work on the ground and the landowners who are interested in receiving those services. So to get into kind of the meat of the presentation, the Farm Forest Initiative, I've got this little cartoon in the upper right, because I think historically there's been a disconnect between ag outreach and education and forestry outreach and education. And I would like this initiative to kind of serve as an opportunity to bridge the gap and make connections where it makes sense, because particularly in the context of farmers who own woodlands, there's a lot of overlapping interests in the services and resources that we can provide. So last year, I took on this project as a new natural resource educator from my predecessor, Randy Mell. And he had helped to put together some of the focus groups, and kind of my first introduction into this initiative was conducting the focus groups and doing one-on-one interviews with folks around the state to better understand farm woodland owners' interests and their access to forestry resources and services. So as far as agricultural professionals, we did focus groups with land county conservation staff, one with NRCS staff, and another one with UW Ag extension agents. And we tried to get a broad geographic distribution. And some of the key findings that came out of that focus group, or out of those focus groups, there were some questions that farmers had that were reoccurring amongst all the different groups that we talked to. And those were around economic opportunities, tax information, personnel recommendations, and a lot of interest in forest health and trying to better understand some indicators of forest health for folks who are not foresters. And I just want to make the point here that we as extension foresters can help answer these questions. So I want to be a resource for you guys in serving the needs of your landowners, your customers, and helping to provide answers to these questions. The other big finding was what I call happenstance referral networks, where depending on what county folks were in, some agricultural staff had great knowledge and access to resources for forestry information, and some didn't. And it was very common that farmers would be referred to an external person or resource, and there was no real follow-up to know whether their needs were being met or whether their questions were being answered. And I think just as far as coordination of existing resources, I think Extension can step in and serve that role to help tighten up those referral networks so that we are really meeting the needs of our audiences. And then in the one-on-one farmer interviews, again, we tried to get a broad geographic distribution, so we weren't just looking at one type of agricultural operation. But I don't think any of the bullet points in this key findings are going to surprise anybody. But I think it's important to inform the initiative moving forward and the type of work that we really want to pursue. So, right, farmers prefer in-person information from their personal networks. They're often have a lot of history within their communities. They know their neighbors. They're actively seeking advice from people that they know, and maybe not so much from outside sources of information. The second point around intergenerational engagement is just the fact that forestry is a long-term effort. Right? Sustainability in the forest is looking at a timeline in terms of decades as opposed to annual operating budgets. So looking at intergenerational engagement, it was so often when I was talking with farmers who I would call forest champions, folks who are really actively engaged in forest stewardship, they had some type of connection that maybe was made by a grandparent who really liked spring ephemeral flowers, or they had a tradition of hunting with their family in their woods, and it served to make that connection between the land and their family, which I think was really important in emphasizing the value that woodlands provide to them. And then the last point, the farm economy impacts woodland engagement. I think that's pretty obvious, but right now we're seeing a lot of trends that are not good for particularly small and medium farmers within the state. And this, I think, creates some new opportunities for income generation. People are looking at other opportunities to diversify the revenue on their farms. And kind of the quote at the bottom from the one-on-one farmer interviews is that if we're able to bring information to the right people, deliver it from the right person in the right context, that it's not necessarily a hard sell to extend a conservation ethic beyond the field border and get it into the woods. And it was just really framing things correctly and providing information in a way that makes sense to this audience. Okay, so here's my so what. Basically, this is what my kind of big asks and questions for the audience today. I'm planning work for this upcoming year. Again, like I mentioned, we've got a bunch of different programs that we run through our natural resource education program, and the Farm Forest Initiative is just, it's a new program and it's starting to build steam, but it's still being shaped. And I am looking for people who are interested and partners to help shape what this is going to look like moving forward. So it is something that is sustainable and valuable to the audience that we're trying to serve. So forestry outreach at farm field days. Again, my goal is to meet farmers where they are with messages that they're going to be receptive to. So in the needs assessment, forestry was not the #1 issue on any of the farmers lists that we talked to. They've got in-field issues that they're concerned about. They've got economic issues that they're concerned about. They've got family issues that they're concerned about. And forestry was something that wasn't at the top of the list, but it does provide economic, conservation, and social values to farmers. So it's a matter of taking the forestry information to their other areas of interest. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to tag on some forestry outreach at farm field days that are happening throughout the state. So I wanted to ask the audience if there are events within your county that could benefit from adding a forestry component to it. So I'm available this summer, this fall, and moving forward to help put together outreach and programming in this context, and I'd be really curious if there are opportunities. I'm actively engaged with folks who are in demo farm networks and producer-led watershed networks, and can be doing more outreach to grazing networks to see where it makes sense to include forestry components to their existing programming. And then in addition, I'm also working with the agricultural research stations throughout the UW system to help put together some demo farms on university property, because so many of these research stations have field days. They've got woodlands that they're managing or not managing to some extent. And I'd like to just use the resource that we have within these research stations to do our part and show what is possible with managed woodlands and do more outreach around forest management at these sites that we currently are managing. So secondly, as natural resource educators, we build programming. So we do tailored educational content. We can build resources and tools to meet producers' needs. So whether that's developing new fact sheets or creating educational programs specific to a topic of interest in your county, we could put together something like a program decision tree that helps people navigate the programs that are available to them. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to be engaged, but we're really trying to meet the needs that are there and not impose some type of programming or outreach based on what we're seeing on our end, because we know that you folks who are working with landowners are much more in tune with what is needed on the ground. And then again, I just wanted to mention that if farmers have questions that you don't know the answer to, or you'd rather, refer them to somebody in the forestry community, send them to us. We can answer specific questions, whether it's related to anything that was identified in the needs assessment, woodland health, economic opportunities, personnel recommendations. Send them to Extension. We're happy to answer questions and connect them with resources. Also, this last year, we saw a lot of our programming transfer to the online environment. So we've got licenses to do Zoom trainings and other types of presentations that could help connect farmers with foresters. And it's a very low cost to entry for us. We, like I said, our experience with setting up events, doing marketing outreach, and doing registration. So if you've got interest in pursuing opportunities online, that's another area where I'm happy to help and talk about ways that we can meet the needs of our audience. And then I know a lot of the county folks, you guys do tree sales, or you have specific programs within your county. And I just like to say that as Extension educators, we've got access to marketing and communications teams, evaluations teams. And again, we do a lot of putting together of content. So we've got resources to help you with the programs that you're running around forestry. And I just like to, again, make ourselves available to help you guys. Okay, with that said, I want to transition to the second part of the talk today, which is basically just providing some of the resources, a brief overview of everything, or some of the important resources that are available to you guys to help this audience. And again, I think this is the third time I've mentioned we've got our website with seasonal information, fact sheets, classes, etc., and then the contact information for us. So again, please feel free to use us as a resource. We're here to help. I try to respond to requests, as soon as possible, and just to be available. And then as far as Extension is concerned, we've got experts on different topic areas. So Jamie Knack is our wildlife extension expert. She is available, again, just like us, to answer specific questions for landowners or conservation professionals regarding wildlife. I also wanted to make a note of the coverts program that she runs, which I think is a really innovative opportunity for landowners to take a 4-day class with her that really outlines some specific things that landowners can do to enhance the wildlife value of their woodlands. And there's an upcoming class this summer. We're really hoping that it takes place. There's application online, and the idea behind that is you send landowners to this class, they go and they learn about things that they can do on their woods, and then part of the after class benefit is that they are expected to go back to their communities and share some of their findings with their neighbors. So trying to build some of those peer-to-peer networks within communities to spread some of the messages around wildlife enhancement. Then David Drake is another extension specialist, particularly around wildlife damage management. I would encourage folks who have questions about wildlife damage issues and mitigation strategies to reach out to David. The website that he runs that includes some fact sheets and resources is included in the list that I shared. So he is also available to help people on an individual basis. As far as economic opportunities, Scott Bovey is our wood products extension specialist. He's located in the northern part of the state, and he is another person who's just more tuned into the economic side of forestry, what is happening with economics of logging and timber products around the state. And he is able to help folks understand what might be good avenues to pursue as far as diversifying their economic portfolio within their operation. And then Diane Meyerfeld, who is, I believe, on the call today, is our silvopasture extension expert. I didn't talk much about agroforestry within this talk, but if you've got producers who are interested in agroforestry opportunities, specifically silvopasture, maybe they're already doing grazing and they're looking at ways to incorporate trees into their operation, Diane has made herself available to help folks with questions around silvopasture. And then I just wanted to point folks to the Learning Store as kind of the repository for other fact sheets within Extension if it's something related to fruit tree growing or invasive plant species or weed control. The Learning Store has free downloads of all of our most up-to-date PDFs and fact sheets. And then the last resource from Extension I wanted to point to is with the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. They do a lot of great work around forestry education, and the Wisconsin Forestry Center is dedicated to helping forestry professionals and other folks who are interested in forestry, but on the professional side of things, to get resources and not necessarily targeting landowners, but folks who have an interest in learning more about forestry and how they can help folks with interest in forestry. Okay, just last slide here before we get into the questions and comments. I wanted to provide some of the Wisconsin DNR forestry resources. Just at the beginning, I want to express, the DNR is not a big monolith. I think that, the service foresters and the forestry side is not regulatory. I would point everyone to the Forestry Assistance Locator website. This has been recently updated, and it provides connections for every county in the state to different types of foresters that are available in their area. The bullet for DNR service foresters I wanted to bring up because these are the folks that provide free services to landowners, and again, every single county in the state. They can do a free property walkthrough, they can provide advice, and again, they're non-regulatory. You don't have to take the advice that they give you, but they're available to help and answer questions. There are also tax specialists, foresters from the DNR that are available to find on that site, and then also cooperating foresters who are on the private end of things, and they provide their specialties listed there. But I'd really just encourage you to check out the assistance locator and dig into what is available in your county. So DNR tree sales, I know a lot of counties still offer tree sales, and the DNR tree sales website, which is shared in the chat, is just another resource for you to point folks to as far as helping people plan tree planting. And then also if there's specific species that are not available within your county, the DNR has ordering information there as well. And then again, to point back to the DNR service foresters, they do help folks with making planting plans and guiding folks through the ordering process of what species might work in their location. So really, I encourage people to point their audiences to the service foresters in their county and get to know these people. And then also as far as economic opportunities, the DNR has forest product specialists that are regional specialists around the state that can answer more specific questions, because logging in the southwestern part of the state and having a timber harvest down there is different than the opportunities that are going to be available to somebody in the northeastern part of the state, just based on who is operating in that area, how far away the timber mill is, and a bunch of different economic indicators that we could spend a whole presentation on. But they have specialists who are there to help. So pointing landowners to these people to help answer questions, I think, is a great resource that the DNR provides. And then finally, there's financial assistance through the DNR. If you go to their financial assistance page, which I included in the resource sheet, and go to the forestry tab, the primary landowner program is the Wisconsin Forest Landowner Grant Program, often referred to as WIFLE-GAP, which provides a cost share opportunity that's similar to EQIP program through the NRCS. And just an important note for any type of these cost share programs, they're going to require official forestry management plan. So working with your service foresters, and then potentially working with a cooperating forester to put together that plan is going to be the first step in getting any type of financial assistance. And then there's also forestry grants that are available for county forests. That's not necessarily the target of my audience with farm woodland owners, but I know if there are folks on the call who have involvement with county forests, there are a lot of opportunities for assistance through the DNR's grant page. And then I just wanted to make a note that on the sheet that I provided, there are a number of federal and nonprofit resources. So I encourage you to take a look at that. It's whatever your interest is in forestry or your landowner's interest, whether it's specific wildlife species like ruffed grouse or wild turkey or deer, there's going to be a group that helps people manage for that specific purpose. There's also the Wisconsin Woodland Owners Association, the Tree Farm Committee here within the state, and just a lot of other great resources that you can help to provide landowners based on their specific interests. Okay, we did it, guys. Again, thank you so much for tuning in today. I guess my big takeaway is that this initiative is really just launching, and I think that there is a lot of opportunity here, and it's going to take building relationships and partnerships to make this valuable opportunity for the landowners that we want to serve. So if you're interested in partnering on forestry outreach, whether that's an event that you have coming up that you'd like assistance with, or if you've got an idea for a tool that you just don't have time to build, and maybe Extension can help you put something like that together, I want to again make myself available as a resource, and feel free to email me or call me anytime. If you're sick of hearing my voice, you can always reach out to the forestry@extension.wis.edu website, or one of the regional educators that serves your part of the state. I think this is the 4th time I'm pointing to the website, but again, we've got a newsletter that you can sign up for there that will help you keep up to date with all of our offerings, whether it's classes or new tools that we're developing or updates to our website. And then we also do have a presence on social media, where we do a lot of sharing of resources and helping to put our partners' information out. So you can find us on any of the channels at Wisconsin EXT or WISC EXT Forestry, or else on YouTube. We do have a channel where we post our classes, like our past Learn About Your Land classes are going to be on the UW-Madison Extension Forestry YouTube channel, which I encourage you to subscribe to. And then just the last note I wanted to make is that you should have received an email a couple of minutes ago from Qualtrics. I'm working with my colleague and evaluation specialist, Amelia Rao, at the university to help develop this program and to help solicit feedback and get input from potential partners and folks who have an interest in this. So I really encourage you to fill out that response. It's 9 questions, should take less than 10 minutes, and it'll really help us to identify areas that we need to pursue. So with all that, I think I made it in time, and I really, again, just encourage everybody to reach out to me. And if you've got any questions or comments or concerns, now's the good time to bring them up. So thanks again.
Great. Well, thanks, Tony, for all those resources and your availability. It's great. I'm just going to, while people, if you want to put any questions in the chat line, that would be good to put those in there now. I was going to share the results from earlier when we had to do the poll while people are typing. Let's see who was all here today. Can you see that?
Yep. Okay. That's great. Yeah, I think that was what we were hoping for, to really connect with county folks and then other professionals who are working in this area. So we hit our target as far as who we're trying to get this message to. And thank you for sharing that.
Great. Okay. Are there any questions out there? I guess we could, one thing I was thinking, Diane Mayerfeld, she's a great partner and I always appreciate her. Diane, you want to maybe bop on and show your webcam and people could see who Diane Mayerfeld is if they don't know who you are? Because Diane's been, like I said, been around and helped me a lot. So I really appreciate her. Are you out there, Diane?
I am out there. Hi, everyone. And yes, I'm happy to take questions about silvopasture. We're very much at the beginning of understanding how to implement silvopasture in Wisconsin. And I think that goes for a number of agroforestry practices. But I'm happy to share the information I have and also work with people to organize outreach or peer-to-peer information sharing. So one of the things I'm thinking about is potentially just a series of silvopasture walks around the state once we're confident we can do in-person events.
But thanks, Diane. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. So it's kind of like, hey, Diane, maybe you wouldn't mind showing your face.
Oh yeah, and apologies. I realized I didn't take my virtual background off because I'm hosting a webinar later today that is dealing with climate change, so
no worries, no worries. Awesome. Okay, so I do have one question from Jeremy. I'm going to read that to you. It says, we welcome you to visit us. Oh, so he's welcome. Jeremy's from Outagamie County, right, Jeremy? We welcome you to visit us in the Lower Fox to see our challenges and a few restorations we completed recently. I think, don't they have a demo farm or something there, possibly?
Yeah, I would love to take you up on that, Jeremy. Diane and I are going to be checking into some other opportunities for demo farms at the ag research stations. And yeah, again, I think tying into the demo farms and the producer-led watershed networks is a great opportunity to, meet conservation-minded farmers and help just extend that conservation mindset beyond the field edge and look at opportunities within in their woods. So Jeremy, if you got any additional context, please feel free to jump in.
Yeah, the comment I would make is just that it turns invaluable land, currently invaluable land for the farmer, where it became valuable for the silvopasture, and it also very severe erosion that got stabilized by removing the invasive species and the I always trip up what's the right word I should use. We go for the historic oak savanna, and while every tree is precious, they cause a lot of damage if they're not maintained. And so a couple examples we have, and I also welcome this idea and look forward to learning more.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and I think from the needs assessment, that was a big takeaway, and kind of from my past experience working with landowners with NRCS, there was a lot of times when folks would come to me and describe their woods as worthless. They would say, we get no benefit from this. And then we would talk a little bit more, and maybe they've got a family tradition of hunting, or maybe they harvest firewood. And it's kind of, part of it is helping to present some of the values that exist, and then also looking at additional opportunities to diversify income and bring new economic benefits. And then I think the erosion, water quality piece is really important too. I think so many woodlands across the state have severe impacts from deer browse, as well as invasive earthworms and other issues on the forest floor that lead to exposed dirt and soil that leads to erosion and some of the large precipitation events that we've been seeing over the last decade. So thank you for that. And yeah, I'd love to take a look at the great work that's going on in demo farms and think about ways that we can just, again, extend that conservation ethic to the woods and help to showcase some of those values that woodlands provide.
Super. Does anyone want to unmute yourself and ask a question? We got a few minutes here that we'll welcome you to do that.
Yeah, but if not, feel free to reach out to me privately, or I'm happy to get folks out a minute or two early and give you a chance to have some unscheduled time.
Oh, awesome. Just that reference or that resource list, that was with your confirmation email, and I did put the links in the chat so you could do them directly there. But if you have any questions, yes, reach out to Tony. He's a great resource, as we found out, and other ones with extension that you can contact as well. I don't see any questions, so I think we're going to call it a wrap for now. Thanks so much, Tony. That was great. Very interesting. Good to work with you. And if anybody has any questions, just let us know. Okay. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you so much, Penny. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Great. Take care.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.